many other distinguished delegates who are joining us from overseas. I welcome you all to this mini conference, but extremely important conference, which is leading up to the PBD in January 2021. The theme of our conference this morning is Role of Indian Diaspora in Promotion of Indian Culture Abroad. And it has been jointly organized by Ministry of External Affairs, Indian Council for Cultural Relations, and Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad. We feel greatly honored that the role of Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad in promoting interface with the Indian diaspora has been recognized, and we have been brought in as a partner in organizing this conference. The coordination in our organization has been undertaken by Diaspora Research and Resources Center, which is an academic arm for undertaking research activities on diaspora, there was need for undertaking the research and academic activities in diaspora studies, and that need was fulfilled by creating a cell unit within the Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad with the support of Ministry of External Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, Indian diaspora has played an important role in propagation of Indian culture abroad, and I think this has been stated in Honorable Minister of State's message contained in the e-brochure. And I would like to draw everybody's attention to that e-brochure. I think MOS's statement, in a sense, sets the tone for this conference. There is recognition and acknowledgement in Government of India for this huge and wonderful role that the Indian diaspora has been performing. This has been undertaken without any prodding by the Government of India. And I think that we need to understand that the Indian diaspora has been by itself doing this role, performing this role in propagation of Indian culture because it has a great emotional attachment to Indian culture. It is also a sense of question of identity for them. In many Garmetia countries, when the diaspora arrived, and I think this sense continues till date, in the face of adversities and oppression, the Indian community, Indian people held on to their culture. In fact, very often it is said that they held on to Ramcharitmanas and Hanuman Chalisa that they brought with them. And during my tenure in Trinidad and Tobago, I was struck actually by almost everybody knowing Hanuman Chalisa by heart. I mean, this cannot be said of people in India. So I think this sense of mooring that the Indian culture provided them, the feeling of a strength that it provided them to deal with their circumstances. I think in today's context, if you look at it, because India has progressed so much in economic sphere, in many other areas, in technology, and I think it gives to the Indian community a sense of pride in having that attachment with the Indian culture and a sense of ownership. And I think what we need to do is to take this forward. We do recognize in the government the role that the Indian community is playing, but I've often believed that this recognition needs to be carried forward, taken forward. I think we need to acknowledge it much more heartily, much more than what we have done so far. To give you one example, in Trinidad and Tobago, whereas we operated one cultural center, the Indian diaspora had more than 100 very prominent and very active community schools for performing arts, and some going beyond the community schools, in fact, at the level of academies and things. The objective of this conference is to explore new ways of enhancing diaspora's role. and leveraging its capacity to optimize its role. And I think 4 sub-themes have been recognized, which have been listed in the brochure: a role of diaspora in promoting Indian culture, improving cultural exchanges, projecting India's soft power issues have become extremely important as a matter of perception, and engaging the youth. I think what this conference will do by bringing in very distinguished people from across the globe in 2 sessions is to identify a roadmap for furthering these ties. And I think this is premised on the belief that the role of Indian community, firstly, is extremely valuable, and secondly, that it needs to be strengthened. And I think that's a very positive feeling. I would close my remarks by noting that we have to understand that the government of India is not a primary driver when it comes to promoting Indian culture, propagating Indian culture. Government of India is not a primary driver, cannot be a primary driver. The size of the Indian diaspora, and that is our advantage, that they are the primary drivers, and the government of India has to accept the role as a supplemental support to it. So I think with this, I'd like to begin our morning session. The first speaker is Honorable Dr. Vinay Sahasrabudhe. He is the president of Indian Council for Cultural Relations. Dr. Sahasrabudhe is a member of Parliament and the national vice president of Bhartiya Janata Party. He's been associated for long with the research and training activities as head of the BJP's training cell for over a decade, and as vice president of the organization which is responsible for training and research for the elected representatives and voluntary social workers. Dr. Sahasrabudhe has also written several books, including Beyond a Billion Ballots, which was his research thesis converted into a book, and his latest book, The Innovation Republic, which captures 17 key governance innovations made by Prime Minister Modi's government. So with these few words, I'd like to invite you, sir, Dr. Sahasrabudhe, for your welcome address.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Gupta ji, dignitaries on the dais, Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, Shri V. Muralidharan ji, His Excellency Shri Avinash Tilluk, Minister for Arts and Cultural Heritage of the Government of Mauritius, distinguished Chair and Moderator, Ambassador Shashank, Ambassador Virendra Gupta, we just heard, but other office bearers as well of the Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad, distinguished experts, speakers from abroad and India as well, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be amongst all of you, although in a virtual format, but I am really happy that the Pravasi Bhartiya Divas this year is happening as a culmination of several conferences or brainstorming sessions, and one of them is here, which is being organized by the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. And the subject is also something which is very, very critical, and it is about the role of diaspora in promotion of Indian culture abroad. Well, friends, I have only 3-4 points to be made as a part of my welcome remarks. At the outset, let me welcome you all and also thank you for having taken out time to participate in this important churning of ideas. I am also grateful to our Union Minister of State for External Affairs, Shri Muralidharan ji, for gracing this important conference. all my colleagues in the ICCR, including our Director General, Shri Dinesh Patnaik, and all others are also present here, and all their efforts, I am sure, with your equally vibrant participation, are going to help us in achieving the objective. Friends, I'm really confused whether the term diaspora should be used or not, because there are various opinions about that. But I've been using it. I continue with that, and would, as a part of my welcome remarks, reflect on 3 points. First of all, although the title suggests what could be the role of diaspora in promotion of Indian culture abroad, my take on this is that whether the diaspora actively promotes Indian culture or not, at least I'm sure it has been and it will, in a more effective manner, contribute in creating the understanding of Indian culture. Because every country has its own cultural, civilizational background, and whether Indian culture as such could be promoted in a foreign atmosphere or not. But what is essential, in keeping with the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the world is a family, is that we need to understand the nuances of Indian culture and make our fellow countrymen, wherever we are staying, understand what exactly is the idea of India, Indian culture, Indian civilization, and Indian people as well. And to that end, I believe for the diaspora people, there are several things to do. And in that context, I think whether we can start with exploring the idea of preparing some kind of an index of the understanding about India in a particular country or in countries wherever we are currently staying. What exactly on this index? Where exactly do a particular country stands? Whether it is high on that index or it is low on that index. And if it is low, how can we enhance understanding and bring that particular country, the particular society there, a little above on that index, a little up on that index? It's something which is for all of us to decide. Because although in India, a separate branch of knowledge, a discipline like diaspora studies, is not so very cultivated. I would urge all those who are into academia that they should also explore the idea of evolving this particular discipline within India itself as to what exactly are the diasporas doing in their countries, how they have contributed, and what exactly are the social and cultural issues that are affecting the diaspora societies, diaspora communities. And in that way, if we cultivate this diaspora studies as an independent discipline, a sociological discipline, I'm sure we can reflect more precisely in a more focused manner on the issues at hand. In the context of the index of understanding of India, if at all we are able to evolve that, how can we enhance that understanding remains the focused agenda. And in that context, I believe there are at least 4 things which all members of the diaspora communities can certainly do. Firstly, enhancing interaction with the local communities so that through our interactions, through our dialogues, through our community gatherings, through our participatory approach in the local communities, we can enhance the level of understanding about Indian culture in the countries wherever we are. That is point number 1. Point number 2, we have to engage in a more effective manner with the local media. I don't know. whether the local media gives adequate importance to Indian diaspora and the activities by Indian diaspora, thereby India as a country and Indian society as well. This is also extremely critical. Recently, ICCR undertook a kind of a study of various textbooks in different countries, and there are several revelations which should make us sit up and think about. And in that context, I believe enhancing the level of India literacy, media, since it plays a key role, I think our engagement with local media, whether TV channels, social media, or mainstream media, it's something very, very critical. And I would urge upon all the honorable members who are participating in this conference to focus on this as well. The third, and perhaps more important, is our more meaningful, effective, and proactive engagement with the academia in our countries, whether universities, whether teaching communities, whether those who are on various bodies of universities and think tanks as well. Traction with is also extremely important. The opinion making that takes shape through academia, and in that context also, we can evolve a kind of an agenda as to how do we make India something which is properly understood by the members of the academia in our countries as well. Lastly, our interaction with the local civil society. Civil society is a comparatively new phenomenon, but I think their role in opinion making is something very, very important. And therefore, whether issues like development, whether sociological issues, whether issues pertaining to the Indian civilization, Indian culture, the more we interact with local civil society people, the greater is going to be the benefit for the diaspora communities. I would suggest that during the day-long deliberations today, members of the diaspora communities who are participating in this important conference would definitely take all these points also into consideration. Insofar as ICCR is concerned, we have several measures that would enhance our interaction with the diaspora communities. We are now going to have a separate, an independent approach for greater participation of diaspora communities in Indian cultural centers abroad. Most of them are now known as Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, as we are all aware of. And therefore, I would definitely suggest all of you also to come out with a set of suggestions for ICCR to work upon. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, Shri Muralidharan ji, and all other dignitaries who are participating in this important conference. Thank you very much. Namaste.
I thank President of ICCR for his extremely valuable remarks, welcome address, which contained a number of very important suggestions. I think the role of diaspora in creating a better understanding of Indian culture, and I think that could hardly be overemphasized. That would require greater coordination and communication between the Indian missions and the local Indian community organizations. And I think the point that you made, sir, about interaction with the local communities and local civil societies is also extremely important, because when you talk about India's soft power and India's culture, it cannot remain restricted to PIOs. Very often, in fact, and this is not meant to be a criticism, but very often the activities of our cultural center have very largely remained restricted to the PIO communities. And I think that would not serve the desired purpose, because the idea is to reach out to a larger population base. your point about local media, sir, interaction is extremely important, but I found that the Indian communities generally are very self-effacing. Many of these activities are undertaken by socio-cultural organizations or religious organizations. And many of these socio-religious organizations, I think because of our values, they don't talk about what they've been doing. And but I think the interaction with the local media is extremely important because media must know, and I think that is where the missions can play a role. At this stage, I'd like to invite Honorable Minister of Arts and Cultural Heritage in Mauritius, who's our guest of honor, Honorable Shri Avinash Tiluk. Honorable Tiluk has been the Minister of Arts and Cultural Heritage in Mauritius since November 2019. He studied law in UK and Australia, and he has been taking active interest in political affairs in his country for the last several years. I think one of the distinctive things that I must mention is that he's one of the youngest ministers in the present cabinet in Mauritius. So I'd like to welcome you, sir, and invite you to make your address.
The Chief Guest, Honorable Shri Muralidharan, Union Minister of State for External Affairs and Parliamentary Affairs. Excellencies, members of the Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad, members of Indian Council for Cultural Relations, brothers and sisters of Indian Diaspora countries, distinguished guests, Namaste. Pravasi Bhartiya समुदाय को समर्पित इस सम्मेलन के आयोजन के लिए मैं भारत सरकार को धन्यवाद देता हूं। भारत सरकार के पहल पर साल 2000 से इसका आयोजन होता आ रहा है। ये प्रवासी भारतीय समुदाय के लिए सिर्फ गर्व की बात ही नहीं, बल्कि एक विशेष और प्रतिष्ठित क्षण है। Virtual meeting has now become the new normal since the outbreak of COVID-19. And it is vital we stay connected despite the limitations of our cross-border movements. In these unsettling times, I would like to say that my thoughts are with all those affected by the virus all around the world. As life continues through the disruption, I sincerely hope and pray for safer days. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I also take this opportunity to pay my respect to Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee as the idea of this union of brothers and sisters across the world was germinated from him. Indeed, a man of great vision and action. कला और संस्कृति विरासत मंत्री होने के नाते मुझे गर्व है कि मॉरिशस एक समृद्ध भारतीय डियास्पोरा वाला देश है, जो कि हमारे बहुसंस्कृतिक राष्ट्र के एक बड़ा हिस्सा है. Recently, Mauritius commemorated the 186th anniversary of the arrival of indentured laborers. The Pravasi Ghat, situated in the capital city of our island, is a world tangible cultural heritage, symbolizing the Mauritian government's determination towards preserving the identity of our roots by recognizing the contribution of our Purvaj in the creation of our nation's economic prosperity. Classified as UNESCO's World Heritage Site, the Ghat bears testimony of thousands of Pravasi Mazdoor जिन्होंने अपनी कड़ी मेहनत से इस देश का हर पत्थर को सोने में बदल दी है. भाइयों और बहनों, आज हम अपनी संस्कृति को एक जानदार प्रवासी भारतीय समुदाय के रूप में मना रहे हैं। हमारा ये वर्चुअल जुटाव हमें हमारी जड़ों से जुड़े रहने की कटिबद्धता दर्शाती है। देवियों और सज्जनों, मॉरिशस भारतीय संस्कृति और परंपराओं वाले एक स्थापित राष्ट्र है। India-Mauritian relationship is a special one, and as part of our close ties, we have a strong collaboration on public health care, and we have been working closely since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic to the world. Mauritius is known to be COVID safe due to the bold measures established by the government, led by the Prime Minister of the Republic of Mauritius, Honorable Shri Narayan Kumar, and the government of Mauritius would again like to thank the government of India and His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi ji for their unflinching support. Beside the public sector, India has continuously helped us achieve modern infrastructural development, such as the Metro Express project, whereby we will shortly be celebrating its first year of operation, a new state-of-the-art ENT hospital, and the Supreme Court building. Ladies and gentlemen, Mauritius is a multicultural nation and is home to various cultures, traditions, languages, and these elements define us as a rainbow nation. And we are bound to promote and preserve the legacy handed to us by our forefathers. Mauritius has, amongst others, ensured that Indian culture and traditions are well established. This is defined by the existence of the Hindi-speaking union with the motto, Hindi Gyan Hamara Maan, together with the Sanskrit, Bhojpuri, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi-speaking unions under the aegis of my ministry. These several speaking unions and cultural centers, which I mentioned, have the mission to encourage linguistic development with special emphasis on cultural, artistic, and social perspectives of language preservation and the transmission of our rich cultural heritage. This bears testimony to our willingness to remember our roots and our values. Mauritius consists of a wide range of institutions such as World Hindi Secretariat and Indira Gandhi's Center for Indian Culture, which serves as an important venue for promotion of Indian cultural activities in Mauritius. The Indira Gandhi Center for Indian Culture holds classes in disciplines of Hindustani music, Kathak, Tabla, Yoga, and for Mauritian students. We recently celebrated the Bhojpuri Utsav at the Indira Gandhi Center for Indian Culture, as mentioned by the Prime Minister of the Republic of Mauritius during his speech last year at the 15th Pravasi Bhartiya Divas. This year, Mauritius would have hosted the Bhojpuri Mahotsav, comprising of delegates and stakeholders across the world. The aim of the Bhojpuri Mahotsav was to provide a platform to promote Bhojpuri language at an international level. However, due to COVID-19, the Mahotsav could not be held. Depending on the evolution of the prevailing situation relating to the pandemic, the Mahotsav will be held in due course. Coming back to the World Hindu Secretariat, the official launching of the construction of the World Hindu Secretariat headquarters was performed on the 12th of March 2015 by His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi ji, Prime Minister of the Republic of India, and the Right Honorable Sir Anirudh Jagannath. The activities of the World Hindu Secretariat has always been in touch with the Indian Diaspora Committee. Activities such as workshops, seminars, and competitions enable the diaspora to strengthen cultural ties. Today the headquarter is fully operational and is governed by an Act of Parliament whereby both Mauritius and India shall cooperate to promote Hindi as an international language. Relating to the subject, I would like to highlight that Mauritius hosted the Vishwa Hindi Sammelan in 2018 under the theme of Hindi Vishwa or Bhartiya Sanskriti. This conference provided a great platform to learn not only Hindi language, but also to learn and understand Indian culture and tradition closely. In conclusion, the preservation of our culture, and particularly the Indian culture, is the responsibility of each and every country forming part of the diaspora, and also the responsibility of the Mauritian government and its people. Without the tangible passage of these traditions and culture to our younger generation, the significance of our tradition and culture will fade. मैं इस मौके का फायदा उठाते हुए आप सबको नव साल की शुभकामनाएं प्रस्तुत करता हूं। आपके ध्यान के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नमस्ते।
I thank Honorable Tilak for his extremely important remarks. I think, as you said, the institution of Pravasi Bhartiya Divas by Prime Minister Vajpayee was indeed a landmark development in India's outreach with its children who had left India's shores. I'd now like to, we've come to the climax of our morning's program, and I have great honor in inviting Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, Shri V. Muralidharanji. He took charge as the Minister of State for External Affairs in May 2019. Shri Muralidharanji started as an activist in socio-political affairs in Kerala and held various senior positions in the Nehru Yuva Kendra. He was elected to Rajya Sabha from Maharashtra in April 2018. Sir, you have the floor.
His Excellency Mr. Avinash Tilak, Honorable Minister of Arts and Cultural Heritage, Government of Mauritius, who has addressed this virtual conference. Her Excellency Dr. Vindhyavasini Persad, Honorable Minister and Member of Parliament, Government of Guyana, who will be addressing the second session in the afternoon. Dr. Vinay Sahasrabudhe, President of Indian Council for Cultural Relations, Shri Sanjay Bhattacharya, Secretary CPB and OIA, Shri Dinesh Patnaik, Director General ICCR, Ambassador Virendra Gupta, President Antarrashtriya Sahyog Parishad, who has been coordinating this morning session, distinguished chairpersons of the technical sessions, distinguished experts from abroad and India, ladies and gentlemen, salam to all of you. I am delighted to welcome you all to this virtual conference on the important subject of role of diaspora in promotion of Indian culture abroad, being jointly organized by the Indian Council for Cultural Relations and the Overseas Indian Affairs Division of the Ministry of External Affairs in partnership with the Diaspora Research and Resource Center, Antarrashtriya Sahyog Parishad. This conference constitutes an important part of the annual flagship Pravasi Bhartiya Divas 2021. Through such an initiative, we celebrate our extended family that is residing all across the world and is in true spirit ambassadors of the great culture of our country. We are proud of the fascinating story of the Indian diaspora, starting from the ancient times and never looking back, reaching the current stage where we have over 30 million strong Indian diaspora spread over in more than 100 countries. In the present time, Indian diasporas have emerged as a powerful entity since they are recognized as soft power in the realm of foreign policy strategy and also as an agent or catalyst of economic development of countries of origin besides their active role in the host country. The Indian diaspora is the second largest diaspora in the world and is counted among the most successful expat communities anywhere in the world. Today, they occupy high positions in the field of politics, economy, industry, technology, and education. This heterogeneous group, drawn from different historical and cultural contexts of migration, are identified and held together by their Indianness and a deep cultural and emotional attachment towards Mother India. The success stories of our diaspora are countless. We all recount the recent electoral victories worldwide, and I would like to recall the formations of government under His Excellency President Irfan Ali in Guyana and His Excellency President Chandrika Prasad Santokhi in Suriname. Indian origin leaders have also done exceptionally well at the recently held elections in the United States. Vice President-elect Her Excellency Ms. Kamala Harris, with family roots in India, is the first woman to reach the apex of power in the US. There are leaders of Indian origin in the Congress, Senate, and scores have won seats in the state legislatures in the USA. We are all proud of their victories, congratulate them, and wish them all success. The Indian diaspora living abroad has provided a global identity to India as a land of flavors, rich heritage through its music, dance, cinema, etc. And they have been in the forefront in passing Indian traditions, culture, values, morals, and mores from one generation to another. They have also encouraged their host country to adopt many aspects of Indian culture and heritage. India is recognized internationally for its intellect, scientific temper, way of life through Ayurveda, yoga, amongst many such examples. While diasporas have seamlessly integrated with the countries of their adoption, they have also maintained very close links with their ethno-cultural roots in India. There have been bridges, mediators, facilitators, lobby and advocacy groups for taking primacy of India's national security and economic interests and soft power projection. With the collective efforts of 130 crore Indians, we embark on a new journey of hopes and aspirations. While India is moving ahead on the path of development at a rapid pace, the goodwill and support of our Indian diaspora abroad cannot be overemphasized. The Government of India and the Indian society have always valued and appreciated the contribution of diaspora in enhancing India's position, prestige, and standing abroad. This long-standing partnership has culminated in strong two-way efforts and initiatives through a series of institutional and operational arrangements for greater mutual consultations, for improved synergy between the diaspora's expectations and the Government of India's policy framework. In this context, we may recall our extensive diaspora-specific programs, namely exchange programs, ICCR scholarships, youth exchanges, distinguished and academic visitors program of ICCR, ICCR-sponsored artists in performing and visual arts, ICCR's academic programs through Indian church for promoting Indic studies, Indian languages, Indian history and culture, Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Program, that's the ITEC, Cultural Fest, Indian Cultural Centers Abroad, and many more. The government programs and schemes have always been based on regular consultations with diaspora, and one of the most effective initiatives for this has been the Pravasi Bhartiya Divas. The next PBD is scheduled on 9th January 2021, and we are looking forward to receiving all of you again to carry forward this important dialogue. There is a definite advantage and charm of in-person interaction. However, the exceptional circumstances due to COVID-19 have forced us to go virtual. We were also looking forward to sharing with you in person the various policy initiatives for shaping the idea of New India, including the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat. We also wanted to share with you the impact of COVID-19 globally on India and specifically on diaspora, and brief you on the initiatives taken by India for addressing this unprecedented challenge, including for softening its impact on Indian diaspora. However, our interactions will have to be through a virtual mode. The socio-economic influence, standing and expectations of the Indian diaspora have been evolving fast, and it requires new and more effective tools of engagements. We are accordingly approaching this theme, that's the role of Indian diaspora in promotion of Indian culture abroad, with an open mind, and are willing to discuss and explore the measures, including at the level of policy, institutional arrangements, and execution. In this session, we will look forward to listening to your views, your ideas for refining these tools under the 4 sub-themes relating to cultural promotion, cultural exchange programs, culture as a vehicle of soft power, and engaging the youth. The Government of India Diaspora Partnership for Cultural Preservation and Promotion has worked very well. However, a significant share of cultural penetration abroad has been carried out essentially by the diaspora organizations. Building on this strength, a time seems to have come to explore new ways of further enhancing the diaspora's role in promotion and preservation of Indian culture abroad. We completely realize that the character, capacity, and needs of diaspora evolve with each generation, and this process has accelerated in the digital era. The interests, needs, and expectations of the youth are changing fast, and policy adaptations need to keep pace lest it causes any disconnect. Our objective is to make this government diaspora collaboration for cultural promotion abroad more effective, focused, and self-sustaining, with a special emphasis on engaging with the youth. Let the diaspora take a greater ownership of the process. Finally, I wish to profoundly thank the partner organizations for their support and all of you for your valuable time, and hope that the deliberations and discussions in the coming sessions would be fruitful and constructive. Thanking you all.
I thank the Honourable Minister for his inaugural address. And as you said, sir, the people of Indian origin living in different parts of globe, they're really part of our family, extended family, how we call them Bharatvanshis. You referred to the huge and continuing progress made by people of Indian origin in almost all spheres. Economic, technological, in the fields of art, and more recently that we have seen in the field of politics. And I think when you begin to look at how the Indian community has begun to exercise its role in the political spectrum is when you accept that they have really accepted the integration in their respective adopted societies. So I think you refer to a firm positioning of diaspora in India's foreign policy framework and its priorities. And I think that is extremely important because I think in the light of the role of PIOs that have been playing in promoting India's relations with other countries as lobby groups, as in political sphere, and I think the main theme of our conference today, the role that the diaspora communities can play in the cultural propagation, derives from that acceptance and that recognition that diaspora has really become an important part of our foreign policy priorities. So with this, we come to the end of our morning session. I've been advised that the vote of thanks will not be given official, formal, to save some time. So I think before concluding, I would like to therefore thank our distinguished dignitaries, to begin with Honorable Minister of State, Shri Muralidharanji, for his inaugural address, and Honorable Shri Tilak, the Minister in Mauritius government, for gracing our morning function and for giving us a very solid and directional start for our proceedings. Thank you very much. We move now to the next session, which is the technical session, which is going to be chaired by my senior colleague, Ambassador Shashank. Sir.
I am Ambassador Shashank, and we start the technical session. The themes of the sessions have been already identified in the address of the Honorable Minister and the Honorable President of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, as well as the chairperson of the inaugural session. I'm really honored to be present at this pre-PBD conference, which is a novel initiative for which we need to congratulate everyone concerned, that we are bringing about a closer interaction, and during the course of the year also preparatory to the PBD, which will be in January. I think the first speaker, we know that we all have very important things to say. Only thing is that time is limited, and this will be an experiment for future programs for the PBD. So I think here we have Pandit Bhuvan Dutt-ji, patron Arya Pratinidhi Sabha of Fiji and member of the Uni-Fiji Council, who would be covering the theme, engaging the youth in the cultural promotion efforts. So may I request Pandit Bhuvan Dutt-ji to kindly address us.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Dio. Are you able to hear me, Chair? Can you hear me? Please raise your hand if you can hear me.
I'm not able to hear you properly.
Are you able to hear me now?
You may like to just switch off your video, then I think we can perhaps get your audio more clearly.
Stop the video. Okay. I stop my.
The voice is breaking. I think there has been just a little bit, I think, a distance between your mic and yourself. I think just probably 10 centimeters or so. Just you can speak a little bit farther from your laptop or from your computer.
Is it better now? Can you hear me? No?
Can you continue? Let's see, because I think you now making. Yeah, you just continue.
Okay, namaste to you all. I thank the organizers of the conference for inviting me to join in the discussion on the topic. I'll speak on engaging youth in the culture effort. The United Nations defines youth as all those persons between the ages of 15 and 24. In India, under the Indian system, commonly known as government. From 1879 to 1916, a total of about 61,000 Indians were brought by the British to work on sugarcane farms in various parts of Fiji. They came from various parts of India and therefore brought their own age-old cultural practices to be practiced in Fiji. I am the third generation.
Bhuvandarji, may I intervene, sir? I find that it's getting distorted, so we will try to fix it. And in the meantime, as we can go request the next speaker, Mr. Premchand Bujhavan from Mauritius, who is the president of the Human Service Trust, Mauritius, and would speak on the same subject, engaging the youth in the cultural promotion efforts. Panditji, we'll just come back to you immediately after Mr. Bujhavan, if you don't mind. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Bujhavan, the floor is yours.
Yes. Namaskar to everybody. And it's a pleasure to join this conference from Mauritius. We just heard the inaugural session, and Sri Virendra Gupta ji spoke about bringing Ramayana and Hanuman Chalisa from abroad. This happened to many countries, to even Mauritius. Our ancestors, when they came to Mauritius in 1834, and before that, they were bringing their religious books, the only support, because those atmosphere of atroce was very, very painful. And when they came, and they have to suffer a lot. The history of Human Service Trust coincides with the history of the independence of Mauritius, because before 1968, Mauritius was a colony, a British colony. So everyone in the British colony who have lived in a colony knows how things are there and how we are taught, how is our schools, and what national anthem we sing. These were the things. But it happens that every time there is some change. So after independence, a Swami came to Mauritius and gathered youngsters. That's why I have chosen youth, engaging youth in the cultural promotion. The Swami gathered youngsters and told that he has landed in Mauritius not to teach yoga, not to teach prayers and all, but he has come to teach voluntary social work so that youngsters can grow up independently and they can lead the country. It was a far-fetched idea for us, but yet he gave us leadership training. And from that training, many have evolved as leaders, as politicians, as heads of departments. He encouraged people to send their children to abroad, and India was the nearest place. India was the cheapest place where everybody who could afford, they send their children for studies. And that was the commitment of Human Service Trust, to engage the youth in cultural promotion efforts, and started from there and continued with the independence. We achieved independence on the 12th of March in 1968, and it continued like that. Many people they could understand what is independence and how we should behave in our independent country. And thus it continued. And the role of Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad is great in the culture, nurturing the cultural promotion in Mauritius. Everybody knows respected Sri Baleshwar Agarwalji. He was known to me when I was a student, and he happened to come to Mauritius and studied the situation in Mauritius. Then in the 80s, he proposed to bring families from India to stay among families in Mauritius. So about 100 people came those days, and they were scattered and put in the families in the Mauritius. So that's how our ties with India was bonded. This link was very bonded. And like-minded people of Indian origin, still they interact with the friends. They are more than families, not friends only. That's how the cultural aspect was enforced. And now the human service trust, whatever the association learned, the members learned, they started practicing. And this was by inculcating into the youngsters to know the culture of a country, to know the culture of oneself. The parents are mostly responsible. And the Swami then insisted upon the parents that teach your children, teach them Hindi. That's how we have just heard our minister Avinash Tilak. He spoke in Hindi. मैं भी हिंदी बोलता हूँ. Hindi was being taught in schools among other languages. And the Ramayana, learning of Ramayana, Gita, Hanuman Chalisa, chanting bhajans and kirtans. This was the job of human service trust to propagate. And we have been chanting Ramayana. And we can say in Mauritius, the propagation of Ramayana chanting, because previously it was being sung in only 2 rags. And now we have learned to add some put to it. And everybody, when they chant, the youngsters, they chant Ramayana, they add some put to it. And Samput makes it very interesting. Even we do radio programs, television programs, chanting Ramayana, and it has become very interesting. Even school children, they go into competition to chant Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, Hanuman Chalisa. And this competition encourages them to learn more about the culture and learn the language. That's how it has been being done. And now, to continue with this, the system we have been adopting, we conduct yearly residential seminar for youngsters. We conduct seminar for 1 week for youngsters who are secondary schools, students of colleges, students of university. They stay together for 1 week and learn the various values. They learn about Indian culture. They learn kirtans, bhajans, chanting, and they do drama even. So all the festivals, the Indian festivals are being celebrated very, very copiously. We start from Mahashivratri. We continue with Ugadi. We go with all the Indian festivals, we can say. And it comes to Diwali. Diwali is a national festival nearly. Everybody just puts light in their houses for Diwali. And thus, and Human Service Trust has adopted one more method to celebrate the new year. The 31st December, we start chanting Ramayana. We start chanting Ramayana, Akhanda Ramayana. It goes on whole night 31st.
Chanji, may I request you to kindly
Yes.
expedite? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Bhuvanji is waiting.
And like this, we we enter the new year by chanting Ramayan. That's all. Thank you very much. And I wish you all well.
Thank you very much, sir. We are very honored to listen to you. That one of the difficulties which we have always found about engaging the youth, and you have done that very successfully and for a very long time. So very hearty congratulations to you. And I think we need to put up the best practices being followed in different countries, including Mauritius, and take them elsewhere also. So may I now request Bhuvan Dattji, if he is ready, would you like to try once again? And we have to also keep in mind the time limitation, because this is the first time we are holding such a conference, so many prominent personalities to speak to us. So we will try to limit it to 5 to 6 minutes, please. Thank you very much. Bhuvanji, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. I thank the organizers of the conference for inviting me to join the discussion on this topic. I'll speak on engaging youth in the cultural promotion effort. Are you getting me?
I think, sir, Bhuvanji, I think though Fiji, I know, is a 7-star island, that seems to be quite a bit far away from India. It is called the Sudur Bharat. So I think we need to strengthen our technical links further. And so we will try once again after if you kindly give us more time. I don't know whether it is this side or the other side or somewhere in between. So Bhuvanji, would you like to try after another towards the end of the session now, if that is convenient to you? In the meantime, I can request Mr. Surya Ambati from Australia, who has been leading the Indian community welfare programs in Western Australia, Perth, and he would like to speak about role of diaspora in cultural promotion. So I would request Mr. Surya Ambati to please now take the floor and keep to the limitation of the small time frame that we have. Suryaji, you have to unmute yourself. I think you are on the mute. We can't hear you.
Hello, yeah, we can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
I think Suryaji, I think again some problem. I think Australia, Fiji, perhaps on the same network. We are having difficulties from both of you. So I will perhaps try now Singapore. Dr. Gauri Parimu Krishnan, who is the founder, director of Indian Heritage Center in Singapore. And I have visited the center there, very, very impressive. So kindly speak to us on the subject of strengthening the cultural exchange programs. And my apologies to the previous two speakers whom we can't hear because of technical things. So Gauri Krishnanji, kindly take the floor.
Sharing. Just say sharing.
Start video. Freeze again. अरे पर वीडियो तो फ्रीज हो गया.
No, it's sharing already. You said your video is not
I just turned.
there. You go.
Can you see me and hear me?
So we can see and hear you, yes.
So, namaskar and your excellencies, fellow panelists and ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure and I really thank the ICCR and the Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad for this kind invitation, and thank you, Chairman, for appreciating the Indian Heritage Center, which you have already visited. I'll try to be concise. I want to share a PowerPoint presentation with everyone here. Can my presentation be shared? Are you able to see the slides? Okay, I think it is on. Can I begin?
Yes, please.
Okay, I also had a technical hitch and I had to actually switch computers as my computer really froze. So I will try to be as concise as possible. Cultural diplomacy has been acknowledged in the recent decades as an effective medium and method of building bridges abroad, especially when the human capital is involved. Modern India's cultural exchange with the world began more than 70 years ago, gaining momentum and wider offerings. When addressing deepening of cultural bonds and an ecosystem for the cultural propagation among the diaspora, we need to acknowledge that it's a two-way process. We also need to deepen efforts towards ways of improving India's soft power abroad. The consistency of experience evoked needs to be carefully curated, and for that, many changes need to be undertaken at home as well. While engaging the Indian diaspora in cultural exchange, ensuring the engagement with the citizens of the diaspora nations is also equally important. India and Singapore celebrated their 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations in 2015, although the Indian diaspora has been part of its social and cultural landscape ever since its inception in 1819. Historic ties, migrations, and diaspora connections have thrived, contributing to the continuation of the traditional practices and claiming of shared history and heritage. So coming to the Look East policy in around the 1990s, and also it has been further nurtured by the current Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Modi's Act East policy even today. And I have personally watched this space since early 1990s and have been involved with many projects over the past 27 years. Being an active participant, I can say confidently that Singapore's institutions have been direct beneficiaries of these diplomatic ties since last 30 years. And I hope that these connections will grow and thrive and deepen with time, and the Indian diaspora take greater interest and involvement. So under the first executive program, sorry, let me start sharing the slides.
You're sharing.
Okay, I move to the next slide. Okay, under the first executive program that was on cultural cooperation between India and Singapore, the Memorandum of Understanding signed in 1992 saw the mounting of a blockbuster exhibition of Indian antiquities and artifacts titled Alamkara 5,000 Years of India, in which among many major artifacts, we also had the holy relics of the Buddha from the Piprava Stupa. Further on, we also received a major long-term loan of artifacts. This fruitful negotiation between the Asian Civilizations Museum and the Ministry of Culture also led to a long-term loan of certain antiquities from the site museums, which are anyway not on display, to be shared for long-term for viewing at the Asian Civilizations Museum. And this, the collaboration and cooperation moved on and fructified further as we went into the setting up of the Nalanda University, and under the inspiration of the Nalanda mentor group, a major exhibition of Buddhist antiquities from India and Southeast Asia was hosted by the Asian Civilizations Museum in 2007 and 8, which was then followed by the East Asia Summit event that was held right in front of the copper plate from Nalanda, and the strengthening of bilateral relations through culture and heritage were reiterated by the two prime ministers in 2007 and 8. And when in 2015, the government of Singapore celebrated its 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations with India, and it was also the year of the celebration of Singapore's own independence of 50 year. A major exhibition from the oldest Asian museum in Calcutta, the Indian Museum Kolkata, sent another Buddhist group of artifacts for display. Moving into the Indian Heritage Center, which was just referred by Chairman, in 2015, Government of India sent 4 busts of the nationalist leaders, Gurudev, Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, which was a very kind gesture in recognition of the Singaporean Indians community's contribution to India's struggle for independence and self-rule. I will move on very quickly. Between 2015 and 2018, Indian Heritage Center has set up several exhibitions in which temporary loan of artifacts and antiquities has been shared by the Ministry of Culture, and this culminated into the setting up of Kala Sangamam, a platform for the showcase of India's crafts and the heritage craft tradition, which was inaugurated by PM Shri Narendra Modi in June 2018. Moving into the recent PBD, the 2018 Pravasi Bhartiya Divas, in which I was also involved in my small capacity as a curator, I would like to highlight that in future planning of PBDs, more opportunities be created for the diaspora's participation to showcase their culture and take these showcase performances to the heartlands of Singapore, where common public or other races and other nationalities can also watch and celebrate the Indian diaspora's heritage. This exposure will go a long way in reinforcing harmony and mutual understanding. I now come to the points of recommendation, which were highlighted by Ambassador Mudgal in his message to us that we would like to see focused recommendations. So here I list 5 points in respect to the context of Singapore, but I'm sure this is applicable to other countries as well. First, to develop an Indian Cultural Resource Center, just like the Swami Vivekananda cultural centers in other parts of the diaspora countries, where we could have collaboration or partnership with ICCR and DRRC, supported by the diaspora communities, Indian companies in Singapore, and Indian origin businesses in Singapore. Also collaborate with museums, heritage centers, Indian arts, religious and cultural centers, where the focus of interest could be literature, spirituality, performing and visual arts, and media. My next point is to reiterate.
Madam, I would like you to kindly quickly finish because others are waiting.
Sure. So highlighting the residency programs, I've come to my last slide, sir. Also focusing on collaboration with tertiary institutions so that the projects that are done by the residency programs can also be offered digitally. And collaboration in research projects, which I think is a very important aspect of tangible and intangible heritage. Co-curation of exhibitions of Indian art from our regional and state museums, where we can also tie up tourism. Some ideas have already been shared in the presentation. And last but not the least, also involve expertise of diaspora experts in the development of our heritage sites in India and museum development, whereby the diaspora can advise and train our staff in modernization projects as well as in the development of content creation. That would be all for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gauri Krishnan. And Singapore has given its own best practice result of carrying the cultural heritage of India to a friendly neighboring country, and perhaps we can try to see how best these things can be replicated elsewhere also. I find that Mr. Surya Ambati is perhaps ready to come up with his. I will request him to make it just about 5 minutes or so, sir. So you have the floor, Mr. Ambati. You have to unmute yourself. क्या हो गया वहीं बैठे हैं Shall I let him go?
Yeah, I think still we are not able to hear you.
Mr. Ambati, I'm sorry, despite the change of your communication channel, still there seems to be some difficulty. So may I now request Mr. Shankar Kandaswamy from Malaysia, who is a very important head of the Bharatnatyam section of the Temple of Fine Arts in Kuala Lumpur. He would also take up this idea of role of diaspora in cultural promotion. So, Mr. Kandaswamy, you have the floor, and we would request you to also keep to the time limit, please. Thank you.
Namaste. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Namaste.
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste. A very good afternoon to the honorable ministers, high commissioners, dignitaries, notables in the diaspora community present today, and all those who organized this thought-provoking conference. The Indian Diaspora is a very powerful group that promotes Indian culture, both in a conscious way and in an unassuming subconscious way. It is a well-known fact that with migrating ethnic groups, the commitment and tenacious upholding of their cultural practices and socio-religious belief systems is superlatively commendable to a point that in many instances, they may supersede even the current practice in their motherland. I speak from the dance, that is Bharatanatyam perspective, as I come from the background and am an active performer, choreographer, and teacher both in India and Malaysia. Malaysia is proud to have some very prominent names in Bharatanatyam, which have made a mark not only internationally, but in India, the motherland. We have names like Padma Shri Dato Ramli Ibrahim, Ajit Bhaskar Das, and Mevin Koo, to name a few. The Temple of Fine Arts Malaysia, the institution I come from, is an international organization established by a Hindu monk, Swami Shantanand Saraswati from Rishikesh, purely for the promotion of the Indian fine arts of classical music and dance. The institution looms forth as a major contributor to Indian culture in Malaysia and works closely with the Malaysian Ministry of Culture, Arts and Tourism for the same. I head the Department of Bharatanatyam, which has branches in major cities in Malaysia, while Kuala Lumpur is the main center with a total population of around 1,000 students learning all forms of Indian classical music and dance, both from the north and south of India. Malaysian Indian artists have made impressionable marks in the cultural scene, not only internationally, but also in India, the motherland, and have been invited by the government of India for the same. Just a couple of years ago, in the year 2018, the famous International Dance Festival held in Konarak, Orissa, had invited Sutra, that is the dance theatre ensemble headed by Padma Shri Dato Ramli Ibrahim, and our institution, the Temple of Fine Arts, to present Odissi and Bharatanatyam respectively. The Temple of Fine Arts was given the opening night to present Bharatanatyam, and we received a very commendable review by some of the prominent critics of India in the following week's The Hindu. Such is the soft power of the Indian diaspora in Malaysia. The Temple of Fine Arts, while in Malaysia, has some of the topmost dancers in the field in India as heading the respective faculties of dance. For Odissi, we have Sri Ratikant Mohapatra, son of legendary Guru Keluchandra Mohapatra, as the head of the department. Similarly, for Kathak, it is none other than Pandit Briju Maharaj himself, who heads the department and acts as advisor for the Temple of Fine Arts, while a part-time institution, has produced world-class dance dramas which have won international and local acclaim. The institution, while upholding traditional culture in the most authentic manner, also seeks to be contemporary, modern, and abreast with the current. In that vein, Western classical music as well as world culture, and also within the intra-Indian disciplines. Students are exposed to a vast corpus of Sanskrit shlokas and Tamil literary works as to the dance forms, particularly Bharatanatyam and its theory. And this gives them a sound insight into Indian culture and tradition. Yoga is also a core discipline offered, and this forms a relevant base into the physical disciplines of the dance. The systematic teaching of the composite cultural forms like Bharatanatyam and all the North and South Indian classical music disciplines creates a powerful diaspora of Indian youth who are significantly informed and have a strong practical working knowledge of our rich Indian culture. This then empowers the diaspora of Indian youth with the soft power of Indian classical arts, making them young ambassadors in a small yet significant way, promoting Indian culture, if not as active performers, as informed audiences for Indian art the world over, especially with the profuse availability of Indian art through the electronic media today. Can I be heard still?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we are hearing you clearly.
Now, very quickly, with this as a significant background, it is recommended that the Indian government representational organizations, councils, and missions support the efforts of Malaysian Indian institutions in a range of areas, and this applies to the entire diaspora, not just Malaysia. Number one, accord accessibility into India via immigration, cultural visa status for frequent travel to attend conferences, short courses, presentations, workshops. Number two, avail leading artists of India to conduct extensive residential workshops, short courses for the diaspora. Number three, offer regular platforms in India to showcase the professional level of diaspora talent. Number four, offer scholarships to exceptional diaspora Indian artists, both for academic and practical training. Number five, create platforms for collaborative ventures which combine Indian and diaspora artists. Number six, to run appreciation programs which educate the public into the features of classical arts, hence creating a culturally aware diaspora. And finally, provide a talent resource of dance and music teachers who could serve the rural Indians of the diaspora, making Indian culture available to the remote diaspora Indians, not just those in the metropolises. These are but some suggestions which can be explored to strengthen the soft power of the diaspora, which in turn would have synergistic value to both India and immigrant countries in the long run. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you, Mr. Kandaswamy. I think this is a very good idea which you have
told us that you have been present in the High Commission with the High Commissioner. So perhaps we should try to repeat this elsewhere also. Only thing is that in the High Commission, we are finding there's some echo going on. So that perhaps we'll have to take care. And because of technical platforms which are now available, we can easily have these classes, as you are mentioning, by the gurus in India or the gurus in Malaysia and other countries, so that the disciples who are interested in learning from them, having workshops with them, they can do that. And secondly, whenever we have PBDs, so many of the cultural programs and other experiences can be simultaneously done on the technical platforms, so that the interested people can see, and it should not be only for diaspora but even for the other local communities elsewhere. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Kandaswamy. You have really been able to communicate your views despite the technical difficulties which you are having with the others. May I now request Mr. PVS Rao from Kenya, and he is a Pravasi Samman awardee, a reputed entrepreneur and a spiritual thinker. So, Mr. Rao, we are ready to listen to you about the cultural programs and the involvement of the youth in the cultural activities. So, you kindly decide, but time limit kindly keep in mind. Thank you.
I would like to share my screen, if you allow me.
Yes, please.
Honorable Sri V. Muralidharan, Minister of State, Foreign Affairs, and Honorable Sri Avinash Tilak from Mauritius, Minister for Art and Culture, and Honorable Sri Dr. Vinayji, the President ICCR, and Honorable Ambassador Seshankji, and distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste and Jambo. Greetings from Kenya and diaspora of Kenya. I am deeply honored to be part of this unique conference conducted by ICCR. India is a country with culture that still lives among the 28 ancient cultures of the world. My country's age is not enough for the measurement of the world historians and researchers. This is my India's greatness. I am proud to be Indian. I am proud to be an Indian diaspora. I would like to take you back just to give you an overview of what happened, especially in East Africa, in the country of Kenya. Historical background: India diaspora in Kenya are the descendants of laborers brought to build the railway. This is a myth. Out of the 32,000 workers brought from India, only 7,000 chose to stay. And all these warriors, we call it as warriors of Indian diaspora, have become the heroes of East Africa over a period of time. The railways opened up Kenya and East Africa for trade. A large number of the immigrants moved to Kenya and became the merchants of East Africa. And this is just a beginning. Kenya has become a gateway to East and Central Africa for the Indians and all over the people from all over the Indian diaspora. Now, the contribution of the Indian diaspora in culture building in Kenya is huge. There are three ways they have built and contributed. Number one, it is a political contribution. Number two, a cultural integration. And the third one is social economic development. India's independence in 1947 set an example for many African countries, especially Kenya. African leaders in Kenya inspired by our Honorable Jawaharlal Nehru ji and our father of a nation, Mahatma Gandhi. And there was a great support from India and diaspora of India. In 1950s, the Indian diaspora in Kenya joined their fellow Kenyans to fight labor rights. And we had a great sacrifice given by Indian diaspora. Sri Tarnalal Seth, Channan Singh, D'Souza, and Pinto Gama were the leaders in the journalistic fight for Kenyan independence. And in 2017, July, Indians in Kenya were officially recognized as the country's 44th tribe. This is the gift by the Kenyan government for the contributions of the political and economic and social and cultural contribution over a period of time since independence. Cultural integration. As you all know, in the diaspora, wherever they go, they went with our culture. Indians in Kenya have represented the country in sports such as cricket, tennis, chess, and hockey in the international arenas. Bollywood was the biggest source of entertainment to Kenyans and is considered as a mainstream cinema in Kenya, which taught the indigenous Kenyans the way of family living, the values of marriages, and Indian cuisine, and also the attires. Indian dishes such as we call chapatis, rice, and samosas have become a staple food for many, many Kenyans. Now, coming back to social economic developments, it's very difficult to put the value of the contribution the Indian diaspora has given to Kenyans. Educational institutions initiated by Oshawa communities and others are the pillars of Kenya. Medical institutions such as MP Shah hospitals, Agarwals, and metropolises ensured all the Kenyans receive the high quality treatments. Indians in Kenya not only led the private sector, where today they are employing 7 million Kenyans, contributing the highest tax revenue to the government of Kenya, and at the same time involved in the government organizations such as the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and Kenya Bureau of Standards. Now, the way forward, we have some suggestions from the Kenyan diaspora, and the time we have to come now put together. We are very happy that this type of formations, this type of conferences, bringing unity as one family worldwide. Number one, we suggest the following recommendations. Number one, utilization of ICCR as a priority to spread culture. An example, in 2017, when we had our ambassador, Srimati Suchitra Dore, we had 2 months cultural exchange programs from ICCR, and it was 7 programs all over Kenya, which was really lauded by the Kenyans and the Kenyan government. We need more of this. We need to collaborate. Number two, improvement of ties between educational institutions in India and Kenya. Example, in Kenya, Nairobi universities from the day one was continuously supported by the Indian diaspora and the government of India. When Prime Minister Modi ji visited Kenya, he has donated $1 million for the library where we have our Gandhiji statue was installed. Number three, where our Dr. Vinay ji said, public outreach initiatives are the most important. And I think this has been already practiced by Satya Sai International Organization, which has been recently accredited by the United Nations for their social service in 100 countries in the world. And there is a programs going on, adopting communities at the grassroots levels. And this is a big success story by spreads love, peace, truth, non-violence, and right conduct. I think this is the way that we should proceed in all the countries to spread our message and our culture through all the African brothers and sisters. And thank you very much. I think there is a time is given very limit. We would like to have a more time because we have to elaborate. We have to choose a particular required topics and we have to build upon it. And we thank you very much. Namaste, Dhanyavad, Asanti Sana.
Thank you very much, sir. I think you have given us the very good news shared with all the diaspora representatives that the highly civilized tribal structure in Africa have recognized in Kenya India as the 44th tribe. So that's a very great signal for total integration of India in the Kenyan and African tribal system. Thank you very much indeed. And I think the diaspora can play an extremely important part what they are doing in Kenya, educational, hospital and other centers to reach them out to different parts of Africa and Asia. I think that will be a great contribution at this time when we can use the technical means and video conferencing, etc., and the satellite systems. I find that Pandit Bhuvandat ji from Fiji and Surya Ambati ji from Australia are now ready. Only thing is our time is getting shorter and shorter. But anyway, Pandit ji, Bhuvandat ji from Fiji, kindly let us have another try.
Thank you, Chair. In Fiji, our forefathers came from India under the Indian system of colonial government. From 1879 to 1916, a total of 61,000 Indians were brought by the British to work on sugarcane farms in British Fiji. They came from India and they brought their own age-old cultural practices. I am the third generation in this process. My grandparents passed on their culture on to my parents. And my parents, like me, passed them on to me. I have passed them to my children. But they have to Australia. And they're obviously getting the cultural impact from Australia. I hope.
So the same problem continues. I do not know. Maybe we will have to have another day. Because at the trial side, things were working so smoothly that we all took it for granted that today also everything will go smoothly. But something has been troubling us. So now I would request Mr. Surya Ambati from Australia to have a try. Sorry, Panditji, I think this is a continuous technical issue and we were so keen to listen to you. But now I think we'll have to try out Surya Ambati ji from Australia.
Namaste all. Am I audible now?
Yes, please. Now you are audible.
Before sharing the PowerPoint, I thought I would like to check this. So you can see a small presentation, my slides. Can you see?
We can see that, sir.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Sorry. Because I want to check, double check everything. So, respected ICCR means all officers and all ambassadors and consul generals of India and so all my fellow members of Indian Diaspora. So it's a great opportunity for me to present you. As a customary, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners from where I am presenting and Wajak people of the Noongar Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'm I'm member of the Minister's Multicultural Advisory Panel, as well as I was head of the Indian Society of Western Australia, a state in Australia. So my presentation will be definitely 5 to 6 minutes. It won't exceed more. So how do we integrate with the local community and what is the impact we have in the local community particularly? So Holi is one of the greatest events here. So almost 50% of the locals, they come and join. Thanks to the government of Western Australia and Australia, we don't have any problems with the COVID-19, we don't have masks or anything like that. We normally go as we are. I'm presently presenting from my office, so it's as usual. So very well managed, and the locals are friendly with us. They know what is meant by holy, and how we behave each other, and they all come join with us. It's a great event. It's a free event. More than 15,000 people attend in that 4 hours. The other important event we organize is an annual event on the eve of India's Independence Day in the month of August. So next one will be on 7th of August, because we normally do one week before. The official celebrations here by Consul General of India, Consulate General, will be on 15th August. So we do 1 week before. So this is Sangam, showcasing all the cultures of India. Even local Australians, they have a number of programs of Indian dances or Indian culture, Indian skits. It's about 5 hours program, 2,500 capacity theater. It's a very well organized event. So the other integration with the local community is the yoga. We organize a number of yoga classes free, totally free. So all locals as well as all Asians, they attend these classes at different locations of Western Australia. Different types of yoga, Kundalini yoga, Sanatana yoga, and traditional yoga, yoga for health. And if you can see the Consul General of China, she's also participating in our yoga classes. The other important thing, Diwali Mela, the Festival of India. If you see on the left-hand top corner, we got the Shadow Minister for Multicultural Affairs, Tony Kristovich. On the bottom corner, Member of Parliament. Here, our Consul General of India, Madam Dantu Charandasidi, they all participated in this Diwali Mela, which is an annual event. Again, nearly 30,000 people will attend this event of 2 days. And even Consul General, they will have a stall, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayali, Hindi, and Gujarati. All stalls will be there. They display their culture, and we all share our culture and knowledge. At the same time, encourage our next generations to retain our culture here. Nari, it's a celebration of International Women's Day. So it's a day-long event only for women. Women panelists, women, they celebrate here. And this is an important thing. So the parade by Indian Veterans Defence Forces. 26th April is Australia New Zealand Armored Corps Day, NJOC Day. So before independence of India, Indians are also part of British Army, and we all participated together in the World War. And all our brothers and sisters in Army, Navy, and Air Force settled in Australia, they take march in this great parade. And the topic has come, what do we do for the Indian students particularly? Yeah, we got Indian students workshops we organize. Our students are technically highly capable. They are MBAs, they're masters in engineering, but they are not going to get. They are not getting mainstream jobs here because they don't know how to how to effectively network here. The interview skills, the career planning. What do they need to do? That area we are helping them. We are organizing all these workshops and seminars, one-to-one classes. They are all free. All the Indian origin students, we support them in getting their proper jobs, not like a taxi driver or Uber drivers. So we also conduct number of events like, almost 40-50% locals will attend, like family relationship workshop. We show as an example, our divorce rate is the lowest in the world. So, and all this is an example for them. Even for our old people, we keep our old people. We don't have old age homes here for Indians. We don't need those sort of information seminars and all. We dissipate the information. why I was rushing to this slide, because we are constructing an Indian community center in Western Australia, which is the first Indian community center in Australia. And federal government, the central government, has generously given $2.5 million, and state government has given $1.5 million. Total 20 crores of rupees worth money they are giving. If you see the flag hoisting on our own land owned by the community, we hoisted, which is 5,500 square meters of block. We have demolished the old buildings. We are constructing brand new Indian community center. So it's a contemporary modern center with a 10 meters height, but at the same time red sandstone structure, jali type structures. We are all Indian style, but a modern style. We are constructing this. This is the pride of all the Indian origin people in Australia, because this is the first time we are doing this here. And COVID-19. Particularly the worst affected people because are students here. So more than 1,500 students, they were required help. And so we because government of Australia normally provide help only to the Australian citizens and permanent residents, not to Indians.
Suryaji, I think you have to expedite now, please. Others are waiting. Thank you.
Yeah, one more slide after this. That's it. So so COVID-19, government has come back, state government has come back, and they have given 1 crore rupees to distribute among our students. So in addition to all these initiatives like free rent, free accommodations, and all those things. And this is my last slide. And I have some requests here. We organize a number of events, like if you see the top Mahatma Gandhi Jayanti, we organized. So in association with the Consulate General of India and Indian Society, Borderless Gandhi, and University of Western Australia. Like Onam, different functions we organize. But we need help from ICCR ICCR used to send number of troops to here perform, but so that got stopped, and so the culture we are unable to display, the best artists they are unable to come. Once this COVID-19 situation is over, we would request to continue. And thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to thank Dantu Charandasiji, the Consul General of India, for this opportunity and taking care of all the Indian diaspora in Western Australia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Surya Ambati, I think you have given us a very good idea about the Australia support to the Indian community's activities and a wonderful building coming up. Also, you have been talking about the cultural programs, and I think in the present COVID times, perhaps we need to take advantage more of the technical platforms for cultural programs and the cultural classes. I know Australia has no COVID, but then it will mean only a bubble kind of between cultural artists going straight to Australia and coming back to India. So let us wait for some time. In the meantime, we must continue with these exchanges and educational programs, etc. Now I have Swami Vedanand Saraswati ji, who is the spiritual head of Arya Samaj in South Africa, and who was given the sannyasi dispensation by Paramahansa Niketan Rishikesh. So Swamiji, we are very keen to listen to you about diaspora as a channel of soft power projection through culture. Swamiji, if you can hear me, kindly come on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Am I audible?
Yes, please. You are audible, sir.
Thank you. My dearest friends and embodiments of divine peace, love, and unity, it is an absolute honor to be given the privilege and opportunity to address this august conference among such distinguished leaders. In some small way, I hope to share the power of Indian culture and how our diaspora, the largest of that in the world, is the greatest channel of soft power projection. Today, India is famous and celebrated the world over for its deep spirituality, yoga, cuisine, traditions, and value system. How does a land once exploited and dominated by foreign regimes now stand tall, respected, and powerful on the world stage? And a great part of the success must be attributed to the masses who reside outside the motherland and who keep their culture alive and thriving, and in turn express that to the world. This year proudly marks 160 years of the arrival of Indians as indentured laborers to South Africa. They came to this unknown land, hearts beating with nervousness and uncertainty, awaiting promised and bright opportunities, but unbeknownst the torture and exploitation that awaited them. Yet through all their hardship, they persevered. They held on to hope with determination and, most importantly, unity. For them, the only connection with their motherland was their culture, that rich Indian culture with values that taught them to treat all as one family, never violent, peaceful and loving. They worked hard to build themselves. 160 years on, I'm proud to say that South Africa has become a country fused with Indian culture and tradition. Indians have become an indelible part of the nation that they have adopted as their own. But their heart and soul beat with the culture that never left them, that built them to the people they are today, as well as motivated them to build schools with value-based education, institutes of dharma and cultures, and thriving businesses. When South Africa was under the oppressive apartheid regime, India was one of the first countries to impose sanctions. The Indian community, having the spirit of unity and oneness, fought together for the freedom of the country. Post-freedom, the Indian community were deeply instrumental and in the forefront in creating and undertaking various social reform and social cohesion projects through both humanitarian and cross-cultural means. Although much has been done by the Indian community through culture, much more is yet to be achieved. Indian culture has sparked much interest, whether it is through dance, language, cuisine, or Bollywood. There is a great need for more ICCR centers to be set up and offer these cultural programs on a much broader scale. Alternatively, ICCR can partner with the local Indian cultural institutions and offer both resources and funding to further expand the current programs that are here. The more programs there are, the wider our reach. Then greater shall be the exposure to Indian culture. Examples can be drawn from successes of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute in Mauritius, for example. Although the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center is doing sterling work with more resources and funding from ICCR, their work can be expounded through the local diaspora. The Arya Samaj in South Africa recently formed the Arya Samaj Africa together with the Samajas in the other African continent. The purpose was to encourage and promote cultural dialogue and shared values, introduce cultural comparative studies, and engage in social cohesion work and Indian cultural expression across the African network. This pattern of interaction and exchange strives to foster an exchange of views and ideas that promote knowledge of Indian culture and build bridges between communities of different cultures, especially the country of migration. Culture plays a key role in international diplomacy. Today, many South African Indians, through their local work, their views and cultured characters, are in key political positions nationally and locally and are looked upon in assisting and making key policy decisions in the country with Indian influence. Exploring cultural diplomacy as soft power through culture is a vital source of innovation, exchange of ideas, information, art, language, and other aspects of culture among nations and their people, which fosters mutual understanding, peaceful coexistence, and tolerance. It is therefore imperative that for cultural diplomacy to be more effective through our diaspora, our diplomats serving the national government must continue to work with the local diaspora to shape and channel this natural cultural flow to advance national interests through cultural institutions such as ICCR and by working with and aiding local cultural institutions on the ground. What's critical is engaging with schools and universities to have such cultural programs as yoga and meditation as part of their extracurricular activities, including Indian languages as an added option for learning as part of the international language offerings. We have found that through the use of media, 2 radio stations representing Indian culture and language have played an influential role in the promotion of Indian culture to the broader community. Several television stations in South Africa have now included Indian programs as part of their offerings and schedules and has piqued the interest of non-Indians. Equally, families outside the diaspora indulge in Bollywood films, series, and reality shows to the extent that our festivals and religious observances are influenced by Indian trends. Therefore, innovative methods of promoting Indian languages and culture must be embarked and approved upon. South African local Indian cultural and religious organizations have ensured the promotion of Indian culture through various means and institutes such as the Hindi Shiksha Sangh, School of Vedic Studies, Indian dance academies, and several responsibility projects. On a society level, the greater influence lies in the transformation of the people with the possibility of creating ties and relations that surpass discrimination, hatred, and violence. Western civilization, especially here in South Africa as well, is increasingly adopting yoga and meditation, amongst others, as their safe space and re-strategizing time. The homely, peaceful, and welcoming nature of the Indian culture exemplifies the value of Vasudeva Kutumbakam and Atithi Devo Bhava, and in turn influences
Swamiji, thank you. I'm saying, Swamiji, thank you very much indeed. You are really doing a great job. Kindly expedite your thing because others are also waiting. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I'm on my last paragraph. India has obtained the outcomes on the world stage because other countries, admiring its values, emulating example, aspire to follow it. And the best part is the heart and soul of Bharat is its people worldwide. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Swamiji, we are so enthused by your enthusiasm and that you are carrying out so many activities and almost coordinating them in South Africa. And I'm quite sure that this will be taken very seriously by our compatriots, our diaspora in all of the whole of Africa and Asia, and they will try to follow some similar examples. Thank you very much indeed, Swamiji. We have been receiving a number of messages on the chat box, so we will not read out all of them, but kindly they would be available, and I'm quite sure that they will be shared by other people also, and they can share the messages among each other. Now I have Professor Ajay Kumar Dubey from the Jawaharlal Nehru University, who is not only the head of the Department for African Studies, but who also runs overseas Indian diaspora organizations and a magazine which is highly respected. I am associated with Professor Dubey in his African Studies programs, and for which I am grateful to him. But we are keen to listen to Professor Dubey now on strengthening the cultural exchange programs. You have the floor, Professor Dubey.
Thank you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Ambassador Sasang. And thank you, Indian Council of Cultural Regulation, MEA, and Antarashtriya Sahayog Parishad to give me this opportunity. It's a pleasure to listen to so many people from diaspora countries, how the culture, Indian culture is playing an important role in their countries. Role of Indian diaspora in promotion of Indian cultural abroad is not a disputed thing. In fact, the single most entity that promotes Indian culture abroad is Indian diaspora. And therefore, what we need to ask is that how can we help the Indian diaspora to promote Indian culture abroad? And that is where I have a few points, because I understand, and as you heard, several diaspora countries speakers have outlined different role which culture has played in their country, which India has played, Indian entities and Indian practices have played into different countries in promoting Indian culture. The most important question is that how can India strengthen Indian diaspora to play its cultural role? And that's where we need to spend some time. The second question I would like to reflect is what kind of role India is expecting its diaspora to play in promotion of Indian culture. It's not all kind of role that India is expecting them to play. And the third, what kind of role and what kind of support diaspora expects from India to promote culture abroad. So these are the three points, given the shortage of the time, that I would like to reflect on within the 5 minutes that I have. What India can do for to support Indian diaspora to play the cultural role that diaspora is
already playing a single most important entity. In my opinion, India should strengthen closer collaboration with Indian diaspora, not just through government and public funded agency, because the time has come under globalization. The different agency now needs to be empowered and connected. The private agencies, the academic agencies, the media agencies, all of them need to connect with Indian diaspora to promote culture. And the time to depend solely on the public funded agencies is now gone. We have to broad-based people to people and civil society organization, non-government organization connect to promote Indian culture to drive this. The second thing is that we need also to move from the traditional method of promoting Indian culture or strengthening Indian diaspora to promote Indian culture by moving to a situation where we inject now the modern technology and platforms for strengthening this diaspora collaboration, having online and internet-based collaboration. The third point is we need to increase our television footage which carry cultural programs to Indian diaspora countries far more than what we have today. And this should not be confined just to Hindi language, because the diaspora represents, it's a microcosm of, in fact, reality. And therefore, the TV channels of different languages must have footprint into diaspora countries. The other thing that we need to do now, and I don't have time to explain, but what I am trying to say that there are several diaspora countries which have adopted and developed the cultural connect practice with their diaspora. We need to adopt and adapt those cultural promotion practices to promote our own cultural practices in countries having Indian diaspora. And the last thing I would again emphasize, which was emphasized by chairman of ICCR and other speakers as well, that by admitting larger number of students from diaspora countries in public and private institutions through fellowship, by developing world-class program in our institution, we are going to promote Indian culture, Indian values, Indian civilizational values into these countries where these values are contemporary with the time. The Indian practices and culture which exist in many of these diaspora countries are still quite rooted in the past, and they find Indian culture and practices slightly skewed from their perspective and unacceptable at many times from their perspective. So that's from the India side. And just quickly, what role India expects from diaspora in terms of promoting cultural values in their country. The first is that India expects the Indian cultural practices or Indian culture into diaspora country will promote or catalyze Indian bilateral connect with those countries. The second is that India's soft power and image of that diaspora can promote in their country, not just within diaspora, but also with the other segments of the host country's population. That's the second expectation that India will have, and we need work on that, as was suggested, that our ICCR programs or our other agencies programs must not be confined just to the Indian diaspora, but should be spread to other segments of the population as well. The third thing that India expects by promoting Indian cultural values, practices in diaspora country is to promote the Indian civilizational and cultural heritage in a way that the cultural identity and pride of the diaspora in the old Indian civilizational culture is entrenched and is promoted. And therefore, we need to work on the civilizational and cultural heritage that make Indian feel proud of their Indian culture. And that's what the diaspora expect India to help them. The last is that the India also would like to have Indian culture, cultural values like peace, democracy, celebration of diversity to be practiced and exhibited by Indian diaspora in their country. And that's where the Indian cultural promotion will again. Coming quickly to what does the diaspora expect from India to strengthen their cultural ties? I think it has been pointed out time and again by several countries' speakers, and it's only the question of degree that we need to do more. And that, of course, remains more cultural centers, larger number of fellowship to diaspora cultural artists, more exposure to diaspora artists from diaspora countries within India, and larger concentration of India promoting the academic ties also, which promotes the values and the mindset of young people in diaspora country. I think there are many other points, but I would like to thank and stop here. And thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Dubey. I think you have rightly said that Indian civilization and culture were considered for senior citizens. But now lately, I find that with the value which is being given to the Indian culture and civilization in the school curriculums, college curriculums, among the researchers and thinkers in most of the countries, and even the political leaders, I find that now this should be a trend for the future, that the local communities, when they respect the Indian culture, even our young people would like to see that yoga and meditation are not only for the senior citizens, but it helps them that when they become senior, they will be in perfect mental health and perfect spiritual health. So that is important, because I find that in many of the advanced countries, 60-70% of the old people start suffering from various disabilities. And so it's the Indian culture which are taken at the young age and shared with the local communities will make for a very fruitful and rewarding life, whatever life God gives. Thank you very much indeed. I find that Bhuvan Dutt has found some technical platform, so he's able to speak to us. Bhuvanji, I'm ready to listen to you. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so therefore I will now speak, if you will allow me. Thank you. I will speak on the subject of engaging youth in the cultural promotion. In Fiji, our forefathers came from India under the indenture system, commonly known as Girmit. From 1879 to 1916, a total of about 61,000 Indians were brought by the British to work on the sugarcane farms in various parts of Fiji. They came from various parts of India and therefore brought their age-old cultural practices to be practiced in Fiji. I am the third generation in this process. My grandparents passed on their culture to my parents, and my parents, in like manner, passed on the same to me. I have passed on whatever I could to my children. They have migrated to Australia and are trying hard to maintain most of the Indian cultural practices there. However, their children born are in a completely new environment, living with European friends and neighbors. Hence, they will no doubt pick some Australian culture, which is Western in nature and different from ours. The word culture has a very wide meaning in my opinion. It includes the various aspects of life on earth, such as family relationship, taking care of one another, food habits, dress, etc., etc. It is said that the Indian culture is the oldest in the world. I strongly believe this to be true. Based on the Vedic belief, as propagated by Maharishi Swamidan Saraswati, who was the founder of Arya Samaj, the first human beings were born on this earth in Tibet some 1.9 billion years ago. Thus, the Indian culture would have started then. This is also proven by the fact that the Vedas have verses on human behavior, parental care, welfare of children, and so on. For example, Yajurved 19:11 states that children must look after their parents. the four Vedas were revealed at the beginning of creation by God. Care of the elderly by youth is perhaps the most significant and important part of our culture, which is still being practiced in many homes, although it is gradually dying out and needs to be protected. This is where the youth come in to play, and we need to engage them by training them in our cultural values and practices. The loss of culture is very evident, particularly in urban areas. It is better preserved in rural areas. Additionally, Fiji is a multicultural country, and therefore the Indian culture is affected by the presence of other cultures. In order to engage our youth in this important area, we need to have programs for them to understand what is our culture and why it is so important. Let me say emphatically that unless we adults as concerned persons do something practical about preserving our culture, there is every possibility that it will be lost altogether. Most parents, for example, do not wish their children to study Hindi in schools in our system, saying without thinking that Hindi will not give them job. They do not realize that if we lose our language, then we lose our identity and culture. Our religious books are mostly in Hindi and can be best understood to its depth in Hindi language. Parents therefore need to be educated to respect our culture and ensure that our children do likewise. What is the plan of action? In order to engage our youth in the promotion of culture, the following steps, in my opinion, are necessary. 1. Parents should set good examples themselves and must ensure that their children observe and practice their culture at home. Children should be taught Indian culture in schools as a regular subject, which should be examinable. Thirdly, preservation and practice of cultural values needs to be discussed in religious gatherings regularly. Fourthly, cultural values should be disseminated in the news media and radio in particular. Fifthly, there should be evening classes held in settled areas for adults and their families to learn about our own culture and tradition. Sixth, a competition on culture should be organized among students and prizes awarded for the winning students. Seventhly, books on culture and tradition should be written in simple Hindi and English and made available to all students. And finally, Hindi should be a compulsory subject in all our schools. This will ensure that cultural matters are readily understood and appreciated. In conclusion, it is evident that our youth will only engage in promoting culture if their parents are also doing the same. Therefore, the answer to the problem of erosion of cultural values in our community lies in the hands of the parents themselves. We need to revive our cultural values by paying special attention to it. No one from outside can do much about it to help us. No, they will not. It is we ourselves, we need to act and act right away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bhuvan Dutt-ji. I must congratulate you for your perseverance and ultimately we succeeded. We listened to you very clearly and you have given excellent ideas for the younger people to be trained by their parents in the values which have been eternal in the Indian civilization. After other speakers, I find that we have the next speaker, Mr. Narayan Kumar, who is a cultural personality. He is the director of the Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad magazine. He runs the whole office, actually, if I can say that. And he is a Hindi linguist. And so you were talking just now, Bhuvan Dutt-ji, the Hindu should be promoted. I think Narayan-ji should tell us how he can set up some technical platform to teach Hindi all over the world. So Narayan-ji, you have the floor, please.
धन्यवाद शशांक जी, आपने मुझे बड़ी जिम्मेदारी दे दी. मैं तो कुछ और लिख के लाया था, लेकिन अभी जिन लोगों ने हिंदी के बारे में बात की तो मेरे मन में आया कि मैं हिंदी में बोलूं. मैंने नमस्कार इसलिए किया कि मॉरिशस के एक कवि हैं और सुहूदत बुखारी, उनकी सेंटेनरी मनाई जा रही है. उन्होंने एक कविता लिखी है कि मेरे दोस्त उस भाषा में मेरे लिए शुभ की कामना मत करना जिसकी मुझे गुलामी के दिनों की याद दिलाती है. चाबुक की बौछारों का आदेश निकलता था जिस भाषा में, उस भाषा को मेरी भाषा मत कहना मेरे दोस्त. तो जहां तक सभी लोगों ने हिंदी की बात की, तो भाषा वैज्ञानिकों का कहना है कि अगर कोई भाषा मरती नहीं है, भाषा मारी जाती है। और अगर एक भाषा मरती है तो संस्कृति मर जाती है, लोक जीवन मर जाता है, जीवन व्यवहार मर जाता है। और संस्कृति को सिर्फ मंदिरों की घंटियों और मस्जिदों के अजान में ही नहीं देखना होता है। संस्कृति को स्वतंत्रता, समानता और सद्भाव में भी देखना होता है। ये इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूं कि अभी स्वामी जी बोल रहे थे अफ्रीका से, तो महात्मा गांधी ने कहा कि 16 नवंबर 1860 को, बड़ी बात उन्होंने कही कि 16 नवंबर 1860 को जो गिरमिटिया मजदूर भारत से आए वो सत्याग्रह का बीज लेकर के आए, और उसी सत्याग्रह के बीज के कारण तमाम उपनिवेशों में भारत सहित स्वतंत्रता की कल्पना की गई, और हम एक स्वतंत्रता की संस्कृति, समानता की संस्कृति और सद्भाव की संस्कृति को कायम कर सकें। अध्यक्ष महोदय, उनके गुरु गोपाल कृष्ण गोखले, जो उस समय नेशनल असेंबली के सदस्य थे, जब दक्षिण अफ्रीका भेजे गए तो उन्होंने कहा कि मैं अंग्रेजी में बोलूंगा। तो उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं, आप हिंदुस्तानी में बोलिए। उन्होंने कहा कि मैं तो नहीं जानता हिंदुस्तानी। गांधी जी ने कहा आप मराठी में बोलिए। तो गोखले ने कहा मराठी का इंटरप्रेट कौन करेगा? गांधी जी ने कहा मैं करूंगा। तो कहा तुम तो मराठी नहीं जानते हो? तो कहा मैं मराठी नहीं जानता हूं, लेकिन आप जो कहेंगे उसको जानता हूं, और इसलिए मैं इंटरप्रेट करूंगा। इसी तरह अगर जो लोग मेरी भाषा को नहीं समझते होंगे वो मेरी भावना को समझेंगे कि मैं भारतीय संस्कृति के गिरमिटिया देशों में प्रचार प्रसार के लिए क्या कहना चाहता हूं। तमाम बातें कह दी गई है, मैं मुख्य रूप से 3 बातें कहना चाहता हूं, या उससे आगे भी, कि जो हमारे गिरमिटिया मजदूर गए दास्ता प्रथा की समाप्ति के बाद, दास प्रथा की समाप्ति के बाद, वो 3 तरह, मुख्य रूप से 3 तरह से लोगों के साथ गए। फ्रेंच, जिसको फ्रैंकाफोन कहते हैं, अंग्रेज भाषाभाषी और डच भाषाभाषी। जो फ्रेंच कॉलोनी में गए, फ्रेंच लोग, फ्रांसीसी लोग अपनी भाषा और संस्कृति के प्रति इतना आग्रह रखते थे कि उन्होंने हमारे भारतीय गिरमिटिया कहिए या जो इंडेंचर लेबर गए उनको उतनी आजादी नहीं दी, और फ्रेंच भाषा और वहां की संस्कृति को उन पर लादने का प्रयास किया। उन्होंने यह नहीं समझा कि संस्कृति इम्पोज नहीं की जाती है, इवॉल्व की जाती है। तो इसलिए वहां जो लोग गए, चाहे रियूनियन में गए, गोंडालूप में गए, आप देखेंगे कि उनसे हमारा संबंध कम है। अध्यक्ष महोदय और यहाँ आईसीसीआर के डीजी साहब भी हैं, मेरा यह अनुरोध है कि जहां चल रहा है उसको बढ़ाने का काम है, तो जहां नहीं कुछ हो रहा है वहां इंडियन कल्चर के प्रिजर्वेशन का काम है। जहां हमारे भारतीय संस्कृति के पौधे सूख रहे हैं उसमें पानी डालने का काम हमारा हो जाता है, और उसमें अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सहयोग परिषद का जो सहयोग होगा वो होगा। एक दूसरे, वहां की भाषा तमिल हो सकती है, वहां के लोग संस्कृत भी जानते हैं, वहां काली माता की पूजा भी होती है, लेकिन वो धीरे धीरे लुप्त हो रही है। ये हमारी जिम्मेदारी हो जाती है। दूसरी बात है कि जो इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग लोग थे देशों में गए, आप देखेंगे कि मॉरिशस में पहले फ्रेंच थे, बाद में वो ब्रिटिश कॉलोनी बनी, लेकिन फ्रांसीसी भाषा का इतना आधिपत्य उन पर हुआ कि आज भी मॉरिशस के लोगों की जो आम भाषा है, भारतीय तो भोजपुरी भी बोलते हैं, वह फ्रांसीसी है, जबकि वहां की राष्ट्रभाषा अंग्रेजी है, राजभाषा अंग्रेजी है, वहां के पार्लियामेंट में अंग्रेजी में काम होता है। तो ये मैं कहना चाहता था कि उतने अनुदार तो वो नहीं थे, लेकिन वो फूट डालो और शासन करो की नीति अपनाई, और अफ्रीकन और भारतीय समुदाय के बीच में एक एपार्थीड जैसा काम कर दिया, जिससे कि अफ्रीकन और भारतीयों के बीच में सांस्कृतिक, सामाजिक और राजनीतिक टकराव अभी तक चल रहा है। तीसरे जो डच थे, जैसे सूरीनाम है, वो अपेक्षाकृत उनमें सहिष्णुता अधिक थी। तो साहित्य संस्कृति के विकास के काम को रोका नहीं गया, वहां चलता रहा। और यही कारण है कि जो सूरीनाम से नीदरलैंड आए, वहां भी हमारे लोग हिंदी में या अन्य भाषाओं में काम कर सकते हैं। तो ये हमारा ये कर्तव्य हो जाता है कि अगर हम भाषा की रक्षा नहीं करेंगे, भाषा नहीं रहेगी तो संस्कृति नहीं रहेगी। दूसरी बात यह है कि हम यहाँ भोजपुरी, मैथिली, अवधी करते थे। हमारे भाषा वैज्ञानिकों के लिए एक नई बात है कि नई हिंदी चली। फिजी में फिजी बात है, सूरीनाम में सरनामी हिंदी है, दक्षिण अफ्रीका में नेपाली हिंदी है। दक्षिण अफ्रीका में स्वामी भवानी दयाल सन्यासी ने जो ऐतिहासिक काम किया कि उन्होंने अपनी जमीन बेच करके हिंदी प्रेस स्थापित किया और हिंदी पत्रिका कायम की, जो हिंदी पत्रिका सभी गिरमिटिया देशों के अतिरिक्त अंग्रेज लोग हिंदी सीखते थे कि उसमें क्या लिखा जा रहा है उसको पढ़े। वे गांधी जी के सहयोगी थे और इंडियन ओपिनियन के संपादक थे। उनके दर्जनों किताब अब बाजार में नहीं है। हमारा काम है कि इसका हम पुनः फिर से छापे, समय नहीं है, लेकिन हम उनकी, अगर हम गिरमिटिया के लोगों की उपलब्धियों की बात करें तो जैसे वहां के लोग आजादी की बीज लेकर के आए सत्याग्रह के, हम देखेंगे कि हमारी सत्य थी कि जिस घाट को क्वारंटाइन के लिए रखा गया और कुली घाट कहा गया, उसको हमारे गिरमिटिया लोगों ने, हमारे इंडियन प्रवासी घाट बना दिया। ये उनकी शक्ति थी कि आप प्रवासी घाट बना करके उसको यूनेस्को द्वारा वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज में ला दिया। यह भी उनकी शक्ति थी कि जिसको हम परी तालाब कहते थे उसको उन्होंने गंगा तालाब कह दिया। और कांवर लेकर के जब देखेंगे कि हजारों लोग मॉरिशस के वहां जाते हैं। इसके अलावा साहित्य में उन्होंने अभिमन्यु अनंत जैसे लेखक को दिया, रामदेव धुरंधर को दिया, जिनकी कृतियां फ्रेंच में अनुदित होकर के लाखों प्रतियां बिकती है। हमें आवश्यकता है कि उनके, चाहे फिजी हो, चाहे सूरीनाम हो, चाहे मॉरिशस हो, उनकी कृतियों को भारत सरकार, अभी अध्यक्ष महोदय कह रहे थे कि विदेशों में जो पाठ्यक्रम है उसको हम कर रहे हैं, भारत के पाठ्यक्रमों में वहां के लेखकों की पुस्तकों को रखा जाए। अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं ये भी चाहता हूं कि विभिन्न विश्वविद्यालयों में डायस्पोरा स्टडीज खोला जाए। वो तो भारतीय संस्कृति के बारे में जानते हैं और हम नहीं जानते हैं। हमारे इतिहास के एनसीईआरटी के से लेकर अभी तक जब महापुरुषों की कहानी कही जाती है तो उसमें वासुदेव विष्णुदयाल की भी कहानी कही जाए और उसमें हमारे जितने प्रधानमंत्री हुए और जिन्होंने त्याग करके किया, चाहे फिजी में हो, चाहे महेंद्र चौधरी हो या वासुदेव पांडे हो, उनके बारे में जाना जाए। अभी जो लोग हुए हैं उनके बारे में जाना जाए। बड़ी बात है कि उन लोगों ने अपने अपने देशों में जाके संस्कृत का सबसे अच्छा बचाया कि जाति प्रथा समाप्त कर। जानते हैं कि हम पालने हैं, किसी ना है, कुछ ब्राह्मणों को रखा जो पूजा पाठ के लिए हो। उन्होंने सांप्रदायिक सद्भाव काम किया। यही कारण है कि आप देखते हैं कि मॉरिशस में कभी मुस्लिम प्रेसिडेंट थे तो आज गयाना में मुस्लिम प्रेसिडेंट हैं। और ये जरूरी है कि सांस्कृतिक पड़ाव पर इसको रक्षा करें। आप फिजी में देखेंगे तो कमला प्रसाद मिश्र मिलेंगे। आप फिजी में देखेंगे तो आज फिजी बातें में जो किताबें पुस्तकें लिखी जा रही है, और फिजी की विशेषता यह है कि वहां के हर एक नागरिकों के लिए हिंदी पढ़ना अनिवार्य है। वो चाहे फिजियन हो, वो इंग्लिश हो या भारत हो, मिडिल स्तर तक वहां सबों को हिंदी पढ़ाई जाती है और हिंदी साहित्य का सृजनात्मक लेखन हो रहा है। सूरीनाम में भी इसी तरह की बातें हैं। तो आप उन्होंने कहा फिजी के मंत्री ने कि हिंदी, विश्व हिंदी सचिवालय को पार्लियामेंट के एक्ट के द्वारा बनाया गया। इसी तरह वहां रामायण सेंटर को भी पार्लियामेंट के एक्ट के द्वारा बनाया गया है। भारत में इस तरह की बात हो तो कहेंगे कि ये सेकुलरिज्म के खिलाफ है या क्या है, या नहीं भी कहेंगे। लेकिन आप देखिए कि वहां रामायण सेंटर को पार्लियामेंट के एक्ट के द्वारा बनाया गया है और उसको मॉरिशस सरकार से दूसरों को भी, मजलिसे इस्लामिया को भी, उसको भी देते हैं। अब मैं अपना कुछ सुझाव देना चाहता हूं क्योंकि समय बहुत कम है। मेरा सबसे पहला सुझाव ये है जो सुषमा स्वराज जी ने शुरू किया था और 10 भारतीय और 10 विदेशियों को बुलाया था। उन्होंने लिखा था कि डॉक्यूमेंटेशन ऑफ द हिस्ट्री ऑफ गिरमिटियाज किया जाए। अध्यक्ष महोदय, अभी तक हम पश्चिम की नजर से उनके व्यथा कथा अत्याचार को देखते हैं, उनकी उपलब्धियों को नहीं देखते हैं। तो अगर डॉक्यूमेंटेशन नहीं किया जाएगा तो उनको वही इतिहास रह जाएगा जो इतिहास है। तो इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल रिसर्च को या सोशल साइंस रिसर्च को ये काम करना चाहिए। दूसरा मेरा सुझाव ये है कि डिजिटलाइजेशन ऑफ ओरल ट्रेडिशन, ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। वहां जो विवाह में व्यवहार में सारे गीत गाए जाते थे वो सब खत्म हो गए हैं, खत्म हो रहे हैं, नई पीढ़ी उसे नहीं जानती है। तो ऑडियो विजुअल करके डिजिटल करें। हालांकि आपको बता दूं कि वहां पर गीत गवई नाम की एक संस्था है जिसको हमने ARST में भी बुलाया था, वो ग्रामीण गीतों को सोहर समदाउन इस सब को गाते हैं। तो इस तरह एक ये किया जाए। मेरा तीसरा सुझाव ये है कि जिस दिन, जैसे कि आप देखेंगे कि दास प्रथा जब समाप्त हुआ उस दिन हम संसार भर के अफ्रीकन इमेंसिपेशन डे मनाते हैं। हम 1917 में जिस तारीख को दास ये इंडेंजर सिस्टम समाप्त होने की घोषणा हुई गजट नोटिफिकेशन, वैसे तो 20 तक चली, उसको एक ऐसे उत्सव की तरह मनाए कि कॉमनवेल्थ ऑफ गिरमिटिया कल्चर हो सके और उसके सभी लोग मिले। इसके अलावा जहां तक मीडिया का सवाल है, अध्यक्ष महोदय, भारत के मीडिया में भी इन देशों की खबर नहीं छपती है या कहीं कोने में छपती है। तो इसलिए ये जरूरी है कि वहां पर ऑस्ट्रेलिया में 4 विश्वविद्यालयों में हिंदी पढ़ाई जाती थी, अब पर्थ में समाप्त हो रही है। 3 प्राध्यापक हैं और सैकड़ों विद्यार्थी हैं, वो हटाए जा रहे हैं। ICCR से कह के हमने जब फिजी में हिंदी की पढ़ाई समाप्त हो रही थी तो उसको शुरू किया था। हम बाजार में जाते हैं तो हमें खोजना है कि आओ तुम भारतीय भाषा सीखो, ये नहीं कि कोई लिख दे कि भारतीय भाषा नहीं सीखते हैं तो हम ताला लगा देंगे। तो वहां पर अभी हमें तत्काल, हम 3 दिन पहले हमने एक कॉन्फ्रेंस किया था उनके सारे प्रोफेसरों का, और वहां वो विश्वविद्यालय बन रहा है। इसके साथ ही वहां पर ऑस्ट्रेलिया सृजन पाठशाला, ऐसे लोग 300-300 बच्चों को भारतीय भाषा सिखा रहे हैं। तो इसके साथ ही हम ये चाहते हैं कि हमारी संस्कृति की रक्षा की जरूरत नहीं है। अंत में मैं ये कहता हूं कि बंदूक की नोक पर दास बनाकर, उपनिवेश बनाकर न तो भारतीय भाषा कहीं गई न भारतीय संस्कृति गई। इसलिए यह अमृत शक्ति उसे है और भारत सरकार का यह कर्तव्य हो जाता है कि विश्व भर में इस संस्कृति को रखे, क्योंकि हमारी संस्कृति जो है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, उसको ग्लोबल मार्केट से चैलेंज मिल रहा है। हम कहते हैं विश्व परिवार है, पश्चिम के लोग कहते हैं कि विश्व बाजार है। तो बाजार और परिवार, हम बाजार की उपेक्षा नहीं करेंगे, लेकिन हम विश्व परिवार को बनाएं और इसमें भारत सरकार, ICCR और हमारी सभी संस्थाओं को नेतृत्व संभालना चाहिए। मुझे क्षमा करेंगे अगर मैंने कुछ ज्यादा समय लिया, क्योंकि मैंने तैयार करके जो भाषा दिया। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद नारायण जी, बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बातें आपने कही हैं और मैं समझता हूं कि सब ये नोट्स लिए गए हैं जो उन पे आगे विचार विमर्श होगा। और ये आपने अच्छा कहा है कि जो आजकल के टेक्निकल प्लेटफॉर्म्स अगर हिंदी और भारतीय संस्कृति के लिए पूरे तरीके से जो है उन्हीं संस्थाएं जो ऑलरेडी हैं बनी हुई, उनको विश्व भर में फैलाया जाए तो बहुत अच्छे आसानी से काम हो सकता है। क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन के लिए मैं सोचता हूं कि हम लोग 1 घंटा से ज्यादा लेट चल रहे हैं इस समय, तो मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि हम सोशल प्लेटफॉर्म को यूज करें और जो क्वेश्चन आंसर्स हैं आपस में उसको शेयर कर लें। दूसरा मैं ये बताना चाहूंगा कि हमको जो है कई डायस्पोरा के हमारे साथियों ने हमें ज्वाइन किया है। उसमें मोजाम्बिक है, मॉस्को से आए हैं, कुछ फिजी से, कुछ बहरीन से, वैंकूवर से, हांगकांग से, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, फिलीपींस, ताइवान से हमारे पास हैं अच्छे सुविचार आए हैं। तो मैं समझता हूं कि उसको जो है सोशल मीडिया पे सब लोग एक्सचेंज करके हमारे पास चैट बॉक्स में आ चुके हैं, सब लोग उनको देखेंगे और सोशल मीडिया पे जो है आगे भी इस तरह की वार्तालाप चलता रहेगा। तो जो हम लोगों ने आज शुरुआत की है वो आज ही खत्म नहीं होगा, बल्कि वो आगे भी इसी तरह का सोशल प्लेटफॉर्म पे आपस में विचारों का आदान प्रदान होता रहेगा। अब मेरा रिक्वेस्ट है, हमारे रापोर्टर हैं प्रोफेसर गोपाल अरोड़ा जी, ये हमारे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सहयोग परिषद के सेक्रेटरी भी हैं और
मेरे को इन्होंने समय दिया था कि 10 साल तक मैं भी इंटरनेशनल सेक्रेटरी से जुड़ा रहा था, तो मुझे बड़ा प्रसन्नता है कि ये हमारे साथ में है और ये रिपोर्टर के लिए अपनी रिपोर्ट पेश करेंगे। गोपाल जी, आप बताएं साहब।
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Sir, I am aware that we have overshot on time and I will just conclude in 3 minutes only. I am taking the liberty of commenting and presenting on the reports by individual presenters. I'll just highlight the common points, in bullet points that have been raised in 2 minutes, and 1 minute I'll just need to say my thing. Now we have heard very distinguished cultural activists from across the globe today. One of the important things that came to the fore is the important role that civil society organizations are playing in the promotion and propagation of Indian culture, and how they can be the arms and limbs of the government, in facilitating what you call a last mile delivery for the propagation, because they are the ones who are actually in connect with the the civil society over there. The second point is the importance that we need to attach to connecting the youth to our cultural ethos and the values. In fact, in one of the papers, Pandit Bhuvandarji had, expressed concern about youth getting influenced by, the Australian culture. But on the other hand, we are also saying that one of the strengths of Indian culture has been that, we have had the principles of Sarva Dharma Sambhav and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And also many presenters highlighted the need of interaction with the local civil society. So in my mind, there is no contradiction in the two things. And as long as we are able to promote and propagate our culture, effectively, then I don't see that the youth will get influenced. So that is actually all the same, more a reason to actually promote our culture. The third thing that I can say is the use of technology, and especially the social media, that we have to do extensively in the promotion of Indian culture. Now that provides an opportunity as well as a challenge. Now today, as an opportunity, we have, lectures on Vedas, Upanishads, and the classes on, performing arts, the finer points of that. But the challenge is that the attention span, is shrinking. So today, if you have long lectures, so people will just skip over. So we need to actually articulate that how we can make, smaller capsules in limited time, so that the message can effectively, go abroad. Language is another very important point, as Narayan ji said. And I think here the government needs to do more, because although efforts are being made, but somehow, except in countries like Mauritius and Fiji, I'm seeing that, the promotion of Hindi language, it has not been very popular, in fact. So that needs to be, seen. And one very good point that was raised today is that, while we concentrate on Girmitia countries, they are doing, great work. But then there are a lot of other countries, which are not getting the due attention, especially the Francophone countries and the countries where there's a smaller population of Indian diaspora. So I think there again, civil society organizations can play a very, very important role in that. So that is my 2 points. So that 1 minute I'll only take, for my say that while we have here, discussed about the very valuable contribution that Indian diaspora is, making for the promotion of culture, which is indeed laudable, we should also take this opportunity to acknowledge the role which the culture has played in the promotion of Indian diaspora. So like in the very, hard circumstances, the Indian diaspora went there, it was basically our cultural values and the ethos actually, which made them strong and survive, persevere, and they have grown so much today. So in that context, I will just borrow a phrase from Manusmriti, which said that dharmo rakshati rakshita. So if you protect the dharma, the dharma will protect you. So I will say that if you promote the culture will give you back in larger quantities. If you respect the culture will give you more respect. If you value the culture will make you more valuable. Thank you very much, sir, with these words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Gopalji. Very nice. And I think both of you mentioned about the Francophone and the Anglophone countries where Indian people diaspora had gone initially. So we have now developed very strong relationship with France, and also it's likely that the UK Prime Minister may, I don't know, I think it's being mentioned in the media that he might come as the chief guest at the Republic Day. So some of these things can be taken up in our dialogue with these two countries, which were the initiator of several diaspora populations in different parts of the world. I have a very important member from Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad, my old colleague, Amit Gupta ji. So Amit ji, you wanted to say something, so we'll give special time to Amit ji.
I'm really honored, Honorable Chair. I'll just take 20 seconds, not more than that. It has been an excellent session wherein we have been learning about various insights from our distinguished panelists from all across the world. While it has been discussed that what Government of India and ICCR and other organizations need to do, I personally think, with my little understanding of international relationships, and I have been traveling all across the globe for last about 25 years, it has also come to my, it is just a humble suggestion that I'm making here, that Indian diaspora may kindly be vigilant about the inclusion of correct facts in India and its glorious history, because several reports have come out wherein several countries either they do not include India in their Indian history in their notebooks, in their curriculum, or they have distorted facts about it. So Government of India or other organizations may have their own limitations, wherein our Indian diaspora who represent India there in the respective country, if they are vigilant, if they can put in some pressure to include the correct facts of history, or they can inform us. That would be another way of servicing India. Thank you so much. I'm really thankful, Honorable Chair.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Amit ji. I think ICCR is carrying out this research activity in a very focused manner, but I think it's a good idea that diaspora can also be brought into it fully integrated manner. I thank you all very much, and it's really a very fruitful, very rewarding session. So wish you more time to attend the next part of the seminar, those of you who would have time, so that we are able to listen to our colleagues from the western part of the globe. Thank you very much. All the best.